Hello everybody, Trainmaster04 here, and welcome to the second installment of this year's catalog review. In this case, it is the Lionel 2023 Volume 2 catalog. Now, as you may notice, I am not doing a live stream, but instead I am doing a normal video, as the poll that I set up yesterday won out yet again for the normal video. However, I will say that the live stream did put up a good fight this year, with a number of you all wanting a live stream, and actually for a good reason. As one of my friends on fellow YouTuber stated, one of the good reasons why they wanted to do a live stream was because it would allow you all to be able to contact me live and also discuss through the catalog live with me. However, this is a capitalistic system, so those who voted for a normal video got that. But to counteract that, I did go and make this video a premiere so that we'd at least be able to talk together live, as this video is premiering live to you all right now. So future self, do me a good job and make sure that you're able to communicate with everyone properly. But anyway, let's get into the catalog. I did go and take a brief look through it all, and it is a shorty, but that is typical for a Volume 2 catalog from Lionel. Typically, the larger, more important stuff comes in the first, and then the leftovers come into the last. But there are still some pretty good stuff. I will say there are some hints that were given out to me, such as an M1A and M1B coming back, and also the Union Pacific FEFs. But there are yet even more stuff to come, such as an F-19 or the George Washington Pacific from the Chesapeake and Ohio. As you can see on the catalog, what a beautiful color with the yellow, with the Lionel L silhouette, and some form of Union Station in the background with an F-19 right in the front. Foreground is just beautiful, which in this case, it has been many years since we've had a George Washington Pacific come around. I believe since the Team CC days, that was the last time they were produced and the first time. So to have a legacy George Washington Pacific come about is amazing. I know my wallet is definitely going to be in serious danger after this catalog, like anybody else. So right off the bat, we're getting into the O-Scale Legacy section. Right now, as you can see, we have yet even more consolidations. The Harriman style or USRA style consolidation. In this case, it looks like we've got a seaboard. Same legacy features. Unfortunately, I did get word that the Lionel Base 3 system is still being delayed. Last I heard, it wasn't going to be coming out until February of 2024, as they are still trying to get through some kinks inside the system. I don't know exactly what kind of system failures they're having or some kind of problems that they're having to fix, but I do know that they have been doing testing on their beta version at the New Jersey High Railers Railroad, which is an amazing layout. I wish I can go and get to see it someday. But back onto the catalog and straight to the F-19s. The F-19s were the Chesapeake and Ohio's famous, or in my opinion, famous Pacifics, with their very handsome and unique design with the dual cross-compound compressors up on the nose, and also an Alesco feed water heater on top of the boiler. That is something that you do not see very often. I mean, you see that on the PS4s from the Southern Railways with the Alesco on top, but you don't have that dual cross-compound air compressors up front. So this, honestly, in my opinion, is a great rival to the PS4s in their handsome aesthetics. For details, let's see what we got. Alrighty, so it looks like we got two different types of tenders, excuse me. Looks like we have both the classic Vandy tender and also a standard tender, so those who want something a little bit smaller, which I don't know why you wouldn't get the Vandy tender. It is what makes these models them, and also what makes Chesapeake and Ohio look so good. It looks like we have a minimum curve radius of 0.54, which is expectable. These locomotives are quite big, especially with those long tenders and the rigid wheelbase. And it looks like these models are updated with whistle steam. So that will mean that the tooling is going to be modified just ever so slightly to incorporate the whistle steam feature, but that shouldn't be no problem. Let's look at the price tag. $1,300. That sounds about right from the last time we got some USRA Pacifics. Maybe a little bit more expensive, but you do have to consider that these are very old tooling since the early 2000s. with rail sounds 5.0. So this has been a model that has been long awaited for an update, and I'm glad they're finally doing it. For versions, let's see what we got. It looks like we have the 490, the Sportsman version. Looks like we got some polished side rods and polished highlights, as well as a Golden Eagle herald on top of the feed water heater. That is quite nice. The Vandy tender, beautiful white wall striping and also striping along the running boards. Just beautiful. Looks like we also got another version with the Vandy tender. In this case, it is a gray boiler. Really stunning against the black background, and I mean, that might actually be one of my favorites out of all these F19s. Just beautiful gray boilers. You don't see a lot of gray boilers nowadays unless it's a what if paint scheme, but to see it as a standard model and not a what if, that is just beautiful. And it looks like based on the product numbers, these are going to be 2024 releases, probably going to be next July, like the up-and-coming Greenbriers that are coming out. Actually, they have just released. Lionel just received them this month and should be coming out soon. I have a friend who pre-ordered the Yellow Belly, which I think a lot of you have been looking forward to since we haven't really seen a Yellow Belly in a long time. And I will be doing a product review on those. First off, I will have to do an L1 Mikado, Pennsy Mikado review in the What If Tuscan Red paint scheme from, who was it? Mr. Muffins. From Mr. Muffins Trains. I'll be getting that taken care of first, as that's already come in. But anyway, back to the models. Here we have 493 in a standard black, no herald, and also a standard tender, which honestly doesn't look too bad, but not as flashy as that Vandy tender. And then here we have another standard black, but with a Vandy tender. So really off on the first two pages, a lot of variety. Tons and tons of variety. Then we get into the what ifs on the F19s, and like usual, Lionel goes overboard with these. And let's get off onto it. So same features and same idea. I know a lot of people have been liking the Halloween version, so it's nice to see Lionel's keeping up with that trend. I know a lot of people are going to be happy about that. This case, it has a very nice Vandy tender with some nice little prints on it, such as a bat on top of the feed water heater, dots here and there for, like, I don't know, shadowing and some things like that. I think the Vandy tender definitely makes this model pop. And then we also got a Christmas Sleigh Bell Limited, keeping up with that North Pole Central Lines theme that Lionel's been producing for the past many years. Similar details such as snowflakes all over the place. And instead of a Vandy tender, they put the normal tender, which I'm actually quite surprised. I would have figured they would have done the Vandy tender instead, as I think that would have been more handsome like the Halloween version. But oh well. Number 1224, so keeping with that tradition of either doing a 1224 or 1225. Can't be the Polar Express, though. And back to more what-ifs, but actual road names. Here we have a Chesapeake, Ohio, number 492, circa 1929. Oh, I love pre-war items, and that Vandy tender without the Chesapeake, Ohio, a large version of the numbers, is quite handsome. And also the number boards, just noticed there are different variations with the number boards, either being around the low mounted headlight or up above the compound air compressors. That is neat. That is actually quite neat. For other different versions, we have a Perry Marquette with a normal tender. I could see a lot of Perry Marquette people liking that. And also kind of an obscure name that is up and coming in popularity, and it is the Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Potomac. I actually got to see a boxcar that was being retrofitted into a VRBO or some type of rental out in the Smoky Mountains of Maggie Valley. So that is actually quite a nice model with the deep navy blue or deep Russian iron boiler. That is quite nice. That is going to go quite well. And then last two pages of the F19s. In this case, it is the expected Chesapeake, Ohio, George Washington. This would not be a completed model if Lionel did not produce the George Washington and also have accompanying passenger cars. So let's get right into it. So it looks like we have two different types of variations of the George Washington. In this case, we have engines number 491 and 492. Variations include both having the Vandy tenders with the retrofitted George Washington nameplate, but there are a few minute differences, such as the number boards being different, but also there's a large C&O logo, later C&O logo I should say, on the 492 and a blank space on the 491. So depending on what kind of version you like, you have that choice. Other variations, 491 has a number board on the boiler front and 492 does not. But the similarities between the two are just nearly identical. Both have white walls, it appears. Both have similar boilers, nothing different. Both have the silhouette head of George Washington on their feed water heaters, which are expected. And something to do note, all the prices for the what ifs and also the normal runs are all at $1,300, so Lionel isn't increasing the price for some reason, or in most cases for copyright problems, because they have to pay that premium. And going into the passenger cars, these are probably going to be quite popular, or if you already have the George Washington set from the Team CC days, you just want to have an updated model of the locomotive, you could just go ahead and get the locomotive and hook it up to your passenger cars. This is quite a very, like usual, just quite a pick and choose system where you can do whatever you want with these. So it looks like we have 3 2-packs. Let's see, they are the 18-inch passenger cars, which is typical. These are the heavyweight style 6-wheel, 3-axle truck frames. And it looks like Lionel's keeping to that $500 price range for these. Let's see, do they have any people? No. Again, Lionel doesn't note whether these cars have people inside of them or not. However, I remember in the Strasbourg passenger cars, they did actually, in fact, have people inside of them. So maybe Lionel will go ahead and put people in here, but I have a feeling they won't, because if it's not an MTH tooled passenger car that already comes standard with people, I've noticed they won't be making any new, putting any new people inside of them. And it looks like I found our first goof of the day. Okay, looks like in the B pack. So the A pack comes with a combine and a normal passenger car, which is a name car. And then coming into the B and C packs, it looks like the artist or whoever the editor was got onto a crunch and accidentally put the same photo for both packs. Whoops. So it looks like for the B pack, we'll have a Mary Washington, keeping with the George Washington passenger train, where they are naming the names of all of the Washington family. And also it looks like we have a numbered car, both of which have the George Washington train name on top of the windows, which is correct. But in this case, it looks like the C pack, instead of it being a Mary Washington in the same number car, instead it's going to be probably a different Washington behind it and a different numbered passenger car, as I would doubt Lionel would go and sell 2 packs with the same number and same name. If they do, oh boy, that's going to be quite a headache for them. And then we also have a Washington Station Sounds Diner. In this case, this Station Sounds Diner has all the standard features: the legacy command system, custom recordings to make your journey sound more realistic, arrival and departure sounds, which I honestly, I really do like about that feature, and also the typical clickety-clack clatter, rail clatter. And something I did notice, there isn't an observation car. I would imagine the C-Pack is the one that contains the observation cars, so you'll have a combine, normal passenger car, probably some diner, or the diner down below, 2 more normal passenger cars, a normal passenger car, and then an observation car. So yeah, hopefully Lionel will get that fix made, or in the next issue of the catalog. In this case, it might be the printed version. I know sometimes Lionel makes a quick fix once they are noted of these problems in the digital catalog, so maybe they'll find it and fix it soon, but I doubt it, since most people have already collected their physical copies of the catalog. So it looks like we're going to have to live with this and see what we get on the dealer websites. Anyway, back onto the Station Sounds Diner. It looks like we have a $430 price tag, about the same as last time. And I know a lot of people on prices have been stating that they are getting way out of extreme and way out of proportion. Yes, some things have been getting way out of proportion, such as the Vision Line Big Boys, as they are now about $3,000 instead of their $2,700 price tag back in 2014. However, you do have to include inflation, as we've had an an interesting increase after as of late, and an increase of inflation. So everything is having to go up, and if you have taken an economics class, you would definitely understand that inflation is a major factor amongst anything. I know some people have cried Lionel needs to go bankrupt because of all these prices, don't buy. But honestly, if that happens, then the prices of everything else, such as Atlas, MTH, when they do their limited runs, are going to go up, and also the quality of products are going to go down. So the more competition you have within a company, the better, as that will decrease the prices and also increase the quality. But also you got to think about the dollar vote, and people are going to keep buying these products. Lionel's going to keep on producing them. Anyway, enough of my rambling. On to the next type of locomotives Lionel's re-releasing. There we go. And it is the Baldwin Mallets, or the 2662s. We recently had some of these come out not too long ago, I think a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it looks like we have yet even more interesting road names. In this case, we have a Denver Rio Grande with a price tag of $1,800. Ouch. That is a little bit too much for my price tag, especially for a small articulated, but it is an articulated locomotive with moderate details, so I wouldn't complain too much, but it's just not my cup of tea right now. Looks like we have a green boiler Denver Rio Grande Western. That has been quite a popular... Did I say Western? Yeah, Western. Excuse me, I thought I said something wrong. I thought it was a Southern, not a Western. But it looks like the green boiler for the Denver Rio Grande is making a comeback with the Moffat Tunnel logo on the side of the tender, which is just so lovely. A nickel plate road, which has been popular for the past few years, that Lionel's been producing with them. A Northern Pacific, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. A Timber Company, a Timber Company Mallet, which is not unusual. Baldwin produced these 2662s for many years and have sent these locomotives out to various different types of railroads, and it was very popular to see them on timber companies on a standard gauge or joint gauge railroad, since most timber companies were narrow gauge, but there were some standard gauge around. And then also a Norfolk and Western, number 1303. So if you want to add another famous Mallet to your Norfolk and Western Railroad, you can definitely do that. Some variations between them all looks to be with or without air compressors on front of the boiler, and that's pretty much it based on everything. Same features such as road-specific details, whistle steam, all that jazz. Still an 054 curve radius, going to show how small this articulated Mallet is. I mean, they are by no means the biggest articulated in the world. But getting into more stuff, we've also got a Western Maryland 1309, former Chesapeake and Ohio 1309. I'm quite surprised Lionel didn't do this in the last release of the Baldwin Mallets, but I'm glad to see they have rectified their errors and are coming out with them. So it looks like we've got... Yep, standard tender, 1309 paint scheme, whistle steam and everything, and it also looks like Lionel's offering some more 2-packs in the 21-inch streamlined passenger cars, typical of what 1309 pulls today. I could see this being quite a popular model. I'm actually also tempted to get this just because it's 1309. Who wouldn't get 1309? She has become quite a queen in the Western Maryland route. Now, it looks like the passenger cars, even though they are not the 18 inches and instead the 21 inches, so you get a few more inches, they are also the $500 price tag with also a $500 Station Sounds dome car. Well, that is to be expected since it's not a diner. You've got a little bit more details. But yeah, that's going to be quite a popular set, I can see. I will have a feeling Eric from Eric's Trains will be getting one of these since he typically gets the excursion versions. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting review to watch. Moving on into the next selection of locomotives, yet again we have more consolidations. As seen earlier, we now have yet even more Harriman / USRA styled consolidations. I've seen some of these. One of them was the Santa Fe 280 and with the oil tender at my local hobby shop. I've been drooling over for the past few months, but just haven't pulled the trigger. And I'm kind of glad I didn't, because there are yet even more selections that are a little bit more appetizing than what meets the eye. So let's get into it. Still 031s, have whistle steam, similar same stuff as the last ones. Looks like we have the Black River and Western number 60, some short line with, honestly, I like that detail with the marker lights and the boiler mounted headlamp. That is, you really don't get to see that on these 280s very often. It's typically all cut and paste the same, where they're on the boiler, and that's it. So I like that new feature. And then the Colorado and Southern number 641. Burlington route, but is a short line named the Colorado and Southern. I actually, where I live, I have a short line of the Burlington route. It's the Fort Worth and Denver, and we actually have a locomotive preserved from the Fort Worth and Denver painted up in this paint scheme. And this, my friends, is actually quite tempting, especially considering it has that very unique Colorado-themed snowplow that you don't see very often. Add some chains up to it to make it look like a narrow gauge 282, such as the ones that are seen on the Cumbres and Toltec very often, and also on the Durango and Silverton, and you're going to have yourself a very beautiful model. And the fact that it's a add-on piece that none of the other engines have, and the fact that it's not an extra $100 or $50 more to the price tag, which is $900, same as the last ones, no difference there, is actually quite nice. That is tempting. Duluth, Mississauga Iron Range with a 080-060 tender, which is, I believe, is typical for this locomotive, number 332. That's going to be fun for some people. Grand Trunk and Western, number 2683, if you want to expand your Grand Trunk Western line, or even have more, say, Strasburg-esque locomotive to go with your recently released Strasburg number 89, you can get this one. It looks like it has the same tender accompanied with the Strasburg number 89, as well as the other 260s Lionel just produced, so that'll be nice and fun to watch around on the videos. And also have some white walls. That'll be very stunning. Lehigh Valley number 911, and then also a Seaboard Airline, the one that we saw earlier. Hopefully the green boiler will actually be correct, as the last time Lionel produced a model with that type of green boiler was on the Texas and Pacific 460, and that was quite a flop. Lionel really messed up a one-shot color miserably, and I'm glad I didn't pre-order that model, because when I saw it come out in person, I was quite sickened, both metaphorically and physically, because it was so wrong. So hopefully Lionel will actually step up and get that right, because that is a color that you do not want to get wrong, because it's just oof. And as the rumors were true, we have yet the M1 class of locomotives back yet again. This time they are both the M1As and M1Bs. How you can tell based on the difference between an M1A and an M1B is the placement of the dynamos as well as the headlights. So let's go over them. In this case, the price tag is right at $1,600. I do not remember exactly what the price tag was on the original M1As and Bs. I know it's been a long time since Lionel produced an M1B. I believe the last time they produced an M1B was back in the early 2000s, after they produced the first big boy, the first legacy steam locomotive and first legacy locomotive ever to be produced by Lionel. And that was a legacy model as well. So to see the M1B come back is quite nice. It has been a long time since we've seen that road type or road engine type. So it looks like for specifics we have yet still that Fable whistle steam smoke effect, which is stunning, just stunning on the M1As. We have two different types of tenders. The small Pensy tender that would have been standard on these locomotives from the manufacturer, and then also the later modified long haul tender. So it looks like the shorties come with an 054 wheel curve radius, and then an 072 with the 8 wheel. Yep. And it looks like the price tag doesn't change depending on your taste in tender. But it looks like we have a various taste of M1As and Bs. So getting back to the M1A, M1B question, how you can tell which one is which, and stating that it's the headlight dynamo. So in an M1A, the headlamp is towards the front. It hangs over the smoke box door, and the dynamo is placed in between the headlamp or headlight, and the exhaust stack. As you can see here, yet again. And for different types of paint schemes, it looks like we have a short tender M1A number 6810, and then a long haul tender and quite a unique paint scheme that I've only seen MTH do, quite honestly, and that having a Tuscan red striping with the gold pinstriping around the Pennsylvania. In this case, it's number 6855 with a doghouse on the tender. Beautiful, beautiful. White walls. Could definitely see this as a showboat or a museum piece model. Not necessarily a long haul coal hauler, but possibly. Getting over to the next page, we have yet even more M1As, two more to be exact, circa 1941 version, so World War II baby here. And also in a standard Pennsylvania forest green or Brunswick green, actually, with a Pennsylvania type on the tender. Let's see, is it a little different? Yes, it's a little bit different. So we have your typical Pennsylvania script on the first short tender M1A, and then over here you have a more block style elongated, typical of 1941. Here we have 6871 with a long haul tender, normal long haul tender. And then we get into the M1Bs. The M1Bs were a little bit later than the M1As. They were the final design. Looks like we also got a few different pilot designs as well, now that I look at it. Looks like on the M1A number 6845 we have a boiler tube pilot or something like that, and then 6871 has a freight pilot which has running board steps for crews to ride around on, and it looks like that's the same for 6855. But let's get back to the M1Bs. The M1Bs, so to tell if it's an M1A or B, the Bs will have the dynamos on a built-on platform over the smoke box doors, and also will have a access platform to the dynamos. Pensy figured out with the M1As, crews were having a hard time accessing the dynamos on top of the smoke box, so they decided to put a bigger one down on the bottom, but also built a platform, a step-up platform over the air compressor tank, or a tank, to access it a little bit better, and also moved the headlamp up on top of the smoke box, nestled right against the exhaust stack. So personally, I like the M1Bs better because of how they look that way, and you just don't see them very often. So specific details. Looks like the M1Bs, one has a freight pilot with the steps on the bottom, and then the second one, circa 1955, has a streamlined pilot similar to the K4s that had them. And it looks like for the tenders, we have the 8-wheel long haul tenders. In this case, they would have been seen on the K2s, T1s, typical streamlined ones, or even the T1. No, what were those? Yes, the T1s, the 210-4s. And it looks like the price tag's still the same. We have the elongated block lettered Pennsylvania on the side. Nothing special, no red, just the Brunswick green along with the graphite boiler gray, which I hope they make this look good. And it looks like these two models would be great double headers. I know many people have double head these M1As, M1Bs together, and they create a stunning show with cold drags right behind them. So yeah, I'm actually quite excited for these. I've been waiting for an M1B for a long time, and that is just quite tempting. Moving on to yet another wheel arrangement. In this case, we've got the Northerns, but not any Northern. We have the FEF3s. Lionel has been waiting to reproduce these FEFs for a long time. This will be the third rendition of the FEFs, the first being the Gen 1 Legacy, then the fabled Gen 2, which I did a product review of in the Gray Hound paint scheme. And now they're coming out with a third variation. So let's go ahead and see if there's any differences in stats. So right off the bat, the price tag is right at $1,800. That sounds about right from the last time, if I remember correctly. Maybe at $150, $200 more to equate with inflation, and times have changed. Still an 072 curve radius, especially with that centipede tender. I've tried rolling a centipede through my 036, and yeah, no bueno. That tender really likes 072s, and you're going to have to use 072 for this model. So it looks like we have a rerun of the 844 Greyhound. Beautiful model. Beautiful, beautiful model. An 841 in the As Delivery, which honestly is quite stunning, considering Lionel hasn't really produced many FEFs without the elephant ears, which really the ones that do have elephant ears really don't suggest it being a detachable option. They have 2 screws in them, and once you unscrew them, there are a pair of unsightly holes on both running boards, and also you might go and scratch the paint, but it's nice to see an FEF without the elephant ears there. You really don't realize how skinny these locomotives are unless you take off the elephant ears. They're just quite unique with them off. And it looks like we're having 2 different types of tenders as well. Still the centipede, but 2 different types of fuels. So it looks like 844, as usual, is going to get the oil tender. But 841, since it was as delivered, it's going to have a coal burning tender. This is prototypical of a number of the FEFs when they were as delivered. They originally were built as coal burners. So this one should have an ash pan underneath with an ash pan glow effect if Lionel does their realization correctly, because this is a coal burner. It would have an ash pit or an ash pan, and also would also have an ash pan glow effect. But hopefully they will get that. I hope they do. And then we also have an 844 in the black version, no white walls, but polished side rods and an oil tender. So 2 844s as she is today, with the Mars light, emergency light, excuse me, and also in her Greyhound paint scheme. Not the 8444. That would have been nice. I don't believe we have an 8444 in the Greyhound, so that would have been nice. Other variations, the rest looks like to be in the oil tender. We have a silver, the typical passenger UP silver paint scheme that was primarily seen on the Challengers. Some FEFs, not very many. Number 843. Number 838 in a black with darkened side rods. That's going to be probably an oddball that's going to be rare in the future, considering that there's not a lot of flashy paint scheme, but a good freight runner. And then also a what if. It wouldn't be complete if there wasn't a what if, and it being in the fabled 49er paint scheme. The Challenger was not enough, so Lionel continued it with a few other renditions, such as in a Big Boy and also now in an FEF. So the trifecta is now complete. We have the Challenger, the Big Boy, and now the Northern. In this case, it is a number 836. Quite a unique model. Still has those elephant ears. Looks stunning with the pinstriping. Maybe another model to review in the future, but we shall see. And then getting into some of the extras for the FEFs, we have yet even more auxiliary water tenders. In this case, Lionel has changed things up. Instead of there only being a single water tender for everything and there being just it only having sounds or subwoofer, instead Lionel has made the option to have with or without sounds. In this case, there is a price difference of, let's see, $350 to $500. It looks like about $150 if I've done my math right. Yeah, it looks like a $150 price difference between the two, so that's quite nice. So if you don't want a sound tender, still have some lights and whatnot, there you go. 031 curve radius still pretty good. Oh, it looks like the non-operational does not have a rear backup light. That's a bummer. I don't know if the Jim Adams has the detachable flag though. I remember the last run of these water tenders, which as a matter of fact is the veranda style, which I don't know why they're giving us the veranda style water tenders. That's not correct. For a second there, I thought it was the MTH version, but it's not. Those are the veranda tenders. I guess Lionel had a leftover run of these from the verandas and decided to produce them as water tenders. That is unusual. Yeah, auxiliary tenders. Okay, I guess set aside the prototypical side of things and just say okay. Well, that's Lionel, reusing the same tooling and plastering it with names over and over again. Anyway, to accompany with the Jim Adams, we also have the Joe Jordan, the typical two water tenders you see being pulled behind a 44 and nowadays 4014, especially in the glorious video of her going through Nebraska, pushing a stalled freight and doing what she last did in 1959. That is just gorgeous. A gorgeous video. Definitely have to check it out if you haven't already. Looks like same price tag, $350, $400 if you want features inside or not. And to go with your FEF in the passenger gray paint scheme, or even the Greyhound if you wanted to, it's just not going to have that yellow stripe, you have some 18-inch heavyweight passenger cars. Again, similar setup. In this case, instead, we have a baggage car with a normal passenger car, a combined normal passenger car for $500, a normal passenger car, and an observation car, which should have been there for the George Washington, but wasn't. Still a goof. And then also a Station Sound Steiner. Going to be a nice setup with that FEF, or any of the FEFs as a matter of fact. And out of the steam and into the diesel, we have just turned a page into the clock of time and into dieselization. In this case, the first up, we have the SD50s. Big engines that we have not seen in quite some time, and in this case, we have various different types of road names. In this case, we have the chassis system, or in this case, the chassis system paint scheme for the Baltimore and Ohio. Something that you would have typically seen in this period of locomotive. And in this case, it looks like we have 3 different types of variations of locomotives. Like last time when Lionel produced these locomotives, we had 2 powered and then a dummy super base or a powered super base. Let's see. Yep, non-powered super base. Okay. So it looks like, again, with the price tag, we have a $650 price tag for the powereds and a $600 for the super base. So not powered, but has smoke. Does it have smoke? Yep, same smoke. Light features as powered units, but has no motors, has couplers, and has a subwoofer or super bass, whatever you want to call it, sound system inside to accompany your powered or both powereds. So that'll be quite nice to go with. So yeah, normal pricing as seen last time. Another road name we have is a Rio Grande, and that beautiful pumpkin orange and black paint scheme. Just a stunning paint scheme. I got to see it in person many years ago, and it was just gorgeous. A Missouri Pacific in the UP paint scheme, since Missouri Pacific is a subsidiary of the UP. NS, Norfolk Southern. I know somebody that might be tempted to get this, but he was really hoping for an ES44. If you're out there, you know who you are. Might want to wait a little longer, bud, for the ES44 SD70. But then again, the SD70s have had horrible power issues. You can't even hardly pull a train with one SD70. You have to lash them up, and then them two are going to be struggling. Other paint schemes, we have 2 different types of Conrails. We have a Support Our Troops with a yellow ribbon. That is quite stunning against that Conrail blue. And then also a Reading and Northern. This is going to be a very popular road name for all those Eastern fans of the Reading, Blue Mountain and Northern Railway. They use a lot of these types of locomotives, especially in this paint scheme with that New York Central-esque lightning paint scheme. So yeah, this is going to be quite a popular model. And then we come into the SD70s. Yet even more SD70s. We just recently had a large shipment of these in various paint schemes. And like I said earlier, these things are having quite a power struggle. I don't know if it is the gearing or Lionel's manufacturer switched over the motors, but whatever it is, this recent run and probably this run as well of SD70s are going to be horrible. The locomotives that we pulled, we tried to pull like 10 cars behind it. I think they were auto carriers behind one of these SD70s, and it struggled. You'd put it up to speed step 20 and it'd finally catch up and be able to pull itself. It took 2 SD70s just to pull a train of 10 to 15 cars comfortably. It was a mess. So if you want the paint scheme, just be aware if you're going to try to pull anything masculine behind it, you're going to need some help to accompany with it. These things are honestly not worth the price tag right now, which have gone up. $700 for an SD70, a cream of the crop model that has no power whatsoever. Don't get the powered, get the non-powered if you want the paint scheme. It's going to save you a lot of money and heartache. I'm just going to tell you that right now. But for paint schemes, it looks like we're bringing back the Norfolk Southern Heritage paint schemes, such as the Jersey Central Illinois Terminal, New York Central, which I actually stayed at a hotel that had a photo of that New York Central. Very nice. Erie, and the Lackawanna. All wonderful paint schemes. And then also it looks like we have a modern UP paint scheme with the flag on the side of the cab nose and the old UP lettering on the side instead of the American flag waving through the wind. And yeah, same things, except for the Heritage. It looks like we have a powered and then a non-powered. But the UP one, we have 2 powereds and then no, not a super base powered, just a non-powered. Okay, so yeah, keep an eye out for what you're ordering because you're not going to get it super based on those SD70s. And then we got the Jeeps, GP30s. Not my favorite style of locomotive. I'd rather have a GP9, GP7, but people like these since they are semi-modern locomotives that are always great workhorses. Price tag $600. Many different types of road names. We've got the Conrail, 2 different types of Conrails. Alaska Railroad, that's going to be unique. Pennsy with some radio antennae, whatever you want to call it, on top of the locomotive. Looks like we have 2 powereds for everything. No, not a powered and then a super base non-powered. Santa Fe and the Blue Bonnet, or I like to call it the Blue Bonnet paint scheme, the freight paint scheme. Wisconsin Central, that's going to be popular. And the New York Central, that also is going to be popular. F7s, we are getting yet even more F7s. In this case, some more similar paint schemes as last time, but just a little bit different. In this case, we're getting a popular Frisco black and yellow honeybee paint scheme. In this case, the set itself, the AA set, is $1,200. Woo! So you're basically paying for both sets. In this case, are they both powered? Yes, 2 powered F8 or F7 A units, both Bluetooth, both have smoke, LED, road specific details. Yep. And the B units, so Lionel's gonna be producing a powered B unit with smoke and operating couplers, no sounds, and then a super bass B unit with the super bass sound system, operating couplers, smoke, but it's gonna be non-powered. So standard stuff. Yep, there we go. And a Santa Fe, oh, there we go, Blue Bonnet. I guess it is a name that is catching on. I know I didn't create it, somebody else did, but it was a good name when I made the video. Santa Fe Blue Bonnets in the war paint and the freight paint scheme. Popular paint scheme. I know I love it. They're just beautiful. Still the same price tag as last time. And then another popular road paint scheme that I see a lot of people get in the MTH version, especially since MTH chromes these sometimes, it's the Burlington and Quincy. The B and Q were quite, or the C, B and Q, excuse me, Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy. I can't forget about the Chicago. Was very popular with these F7s and F units and all together, and their freight units were in this beautiful silver-esque white with red and black striping. It is gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. And I could see this possibly getting into my roster, but the price tag still holds me back every time. Yet even more F7s. We've got the Boston and Maine in their blue and white. Rock Island, in this case, the Rock Island is a little bit different. The Rock Island always, they were like the Amtrak during the Rainbow era, where they were mismatching different paint schemes because they just didn't have enough road engines to get the job done. So in this case, Lionel is replicating that with two different types of rock islands. One with the large lettering in the red and yellow, and then the small letter with the maroon and yellow. That's going to be popular because I know a lot of people have been wanting a Rainbow Era-esque locomotive, and I know the Amtrak ones in the E units were very popular, so that's going to be popular. And then we also got a passenger set. In this case, it is the Great Northern with a snowplow on either end of the A units. Still the same price tag for both the AA unit, and also the passenger cars, except we have a 4-pack. 4-pack includes looks like an RPO baggage car, standard passenger car, a dumb car, and an observation car, all in the beautiful pumpkin orange and green paint scheme. And give me 1 second. Okay, back at it again. Sorry for about that interruption. Let's get back into it. So, yeah, $1,000 for the 4-pack, $500 for the 2-pack, Station Sounds Diner, as well as a dumb car that is $300. So this is going to be quite a nice train. And then we get into some switchers, Alco S2s. We recently had some Alco switchers not too long ago, so it's always nice to have yet a little more in different paint schemes. Looks like we have an SIRT number 821, an ADM, some unusual road names that I think a few people are going to like, Canadian Pacific, which is now part of the Kansas City Southern, or the other way around, however you want to look at it, Lehigh, New England, a NASA, that's going to be quite popular, especially with that new UP rocket booster train set, and a U.S. Army number 7100. That is going to be quite nice. And the price tag, yeah, a little high, $550 for a switcher. That's just going to pretty much how it's going to be, unfortunately. And then we get into the nice legacy sets. In this case, there's not very many legacy sets for this year's last catalog. In this case, we have a Lehigh Gorge Scenic Railway with an SD50 and 3 Reading styled passenger cars with a Reading and Northern caboose at the very end, and also an add-on 2-pack. Price of the set is $1,100, not bad, or $1,200, excuse me, not bad considering that you get an SD50 that is around, what was it, $650, something like that, and 3 passenger cars and a caboose. That's not bad at all. And then the 2-pack being $430. That's a little bit better than the other 2-packs that we've been seeing. And then I think these are the last two. Yes, these are the last 2 sets for the legacies. In this case, we have an F7 set for the Western Pacific. That's going to be going quite well, I think. It's unusual that it's not the standard Western Pacific paint scheme that you would typically think of when you think of Western Pacific. It's not the silver and orange, but instead it's the greenish black version. That's all right. Then at the bottom, we have an M1 set. The M1 is, $2,000. Yeah, I think I'd just stick with the standard M1B and go on from there, because that set does not look like a good deal considering what does it all have. It has a standard hopper, Freedom gondola with Coke containers, and it does have a Freight Sounds box car, but that's just a hard pill to swallow. And then the F7 set, $1,600. Yeah, sets are a little pricey. If you want to get a set, get the other one if you want a Eastern Road. Alrighty, something a little different that we haven't seen in ages. The last time I remember seeing this set being produced was by MTH, and it is the American Orient Express. For those of you who do not know what the American Orient Express is, back in the day, let's see, the 1990s, yes. The American Orient Express brought a rebirth of truly elegant luxury to American rails in the 1990s and early 2000s, beginning as a humble 5-car American European Express. In 1990, at its peak, the train included 22 cars, sometimes operated as 2 smaller 11-car trains. The AOE offered luxury tours around the country aboard finely refurbished rail cars. Amtrak supplied the locomotives for the train. Gleaming blue, cream, and gold paint on the outside only hinted at the opulence within. So yeah, basically it was a reproduction of the original Simplon Orient Express that ran from Istanbul to England, or actually France. And it was at the time, and still is considered, the most luxurious train in the world. It has great provenance with it, great history with it, and the fact that most of the original passenger cars of the original Orient Express is still being used on the Venice Orient Express that runs between Istanbul and England is just amazing. And to have and so basically the American Orient Express was created to replicate that in the United States. So for people who couldn't make it overseas and ride on the Orient Express, which I believe at that time was in limbo, some of the cars were still being refurbished and wasn't really truly as it is to this day. But the fact that, and really what they wanted to do was recreate the golden age of railroading. And there is I have a VHS tape, yes, that's how old I am, of a great video of the golden era of railroading, including passenger trains. And most of the interviews were done on the American Orient Express while it's running through doing one of its scenic tours. And the interiors were just beautiful, spotless, white linen tablecloths. Makes Amtrak look like a kiddie ride. But anyway, getting back to the actual cars themselves, it looks like we have different various packs to look over. So the main 4-pack is again $1,000. It includes two normal passenger cars, an observation car. No, 3 normal passenger cars and an observation car. 2-pack includes for $500 a normal passenger car, or sleeping car, excuse me, and a dome car. Looks like the 4-pack we have 2 sleeping cars and a club car. Excuse me for technicalities. And then single cars, we have a full dome super dome for $300. That is quite nice. And then a standard Station Sounds diner for $450. If you were ever around when the American Orient Express ran through the United States, this definitely would be the set for you, because they are just so stunning, and they bring back an era they were represented an era of American railroading that is no longer available, sadly. So if you get this, get them. Other individual cars, we have individual passenger cars, in this case 2 MOW RPOs for the Southern, and also the UP in that interesting teal green silver paint scheme, and also a Phase 3 modern Station Sounds dome car for Amtrak to add to your passenger set. And then we have 18-inch training cars. Training cars were typically normal passenger cars retrofitted with seating, like theater seating, and also either the whole car was blacked out, their windows were blacked out, or at least a portion of it, so that a theater screen could be projected into the room, or some form of screen, and then it would travel around the different areas of the railroad, and those who needed to be retrained or need to update their training could go in, sit down, have their training, and be instructed. In this case, we have various row names and different versions of the passenger car. In this case, we have an 18-inch UP, standard passenger car, a Rio Grande observation car with all the windows blacked out, Great Northern Fire Prevention baggage car, which is quite interesting with all the flames going along the side of it. Price tag $430, a little expensive. I know these are going to be retooled cars, so they're going to probably have to make new tooling for reproduce the tooling for these standard cars, but have it set aside to be retooled so that the original isn't messed up. New York Central and Pennsylvania. I actually got to go into a training car, Norfolk and Western training car at the the Virginia Museum of Transportation, where 611 is now at right now, and it was quite hot, but it was cool. Unique cars. PS5 gondolas, one with a standard Area 51, the other one with Coke containers, and then also a Bethlehem steel. That's going to be popular. Graffiti with the cover And then 2 more with the Coke containers. This case, Pittsburgh and Lake Erie, and the Reading. Those are going to be popular. And then also a U.S. Army Corps covered PS5 gondola. All with a price tag. Depending on what you get, it looks like the Area 51 with the covers is $125. Coke containers are $135. Graffiti is also $135. Looks like the Reading and the P&LE is $130, and the U.S. Army is $125. Woof, different prices here. Getting into some box cars and more freight cars, we've got some double sheath box cars. I am a fan of double sheath box cars and single. I love them. And that Strasburg and Southern Pacific box cars are looking quite tempting, especially the World War II-esque paint scheme on that SP. Both are priced at $100, so are the other 3. In this case, New York Central, Northern Pacific at Pennsylvania. And then we also get some PS1 box cars, 2 of which have caught my eye instantly when I did a quick run through. And they are the pair of UP World War II styled box cars. Both of which are right at $210. Yikes. Which, that might actually be a typo. Let me look down for a sec. For a second, I thought these were... Let's see. Ah, yes. They are sounds... Patriot, it sounds PS1 boxcars. Okay, that explains the $210 price tag. These are Rail Sounds boxcars with Patriot-esque sounds. That explains their huge price tag. But as you can see, the All Engines of War boxcar has the World War II military posters that you'd see of the time with different airplanes, tanks, equipment, and even a Challenger at the bottom. Or no, that looks like a Challenger. Or Big Boy doing its thing for World War II, and then a tanks don't fight. It's tanks don't fight in factories. Yeah, that is true. They don't fight in factories. So yeah, these 2 box cars are possibly going to be on my list. They are beautiful. Also different other U.S. Marines, Navy, Air Force styled Patriot box cars for you all who have those, like especially the U.S. Air Force, that the Alco FA sets, though that is quite a stunning set in that blue and white. I could see that box car being paired very nicely. And then we also have standard PS1 boxcars in 3-packs with yet even more World War II advertising. Yes! I've been wanting some of these, especially considering how they look so good in the last few sets Lionel's been producing. In this case, each 3-pack has 3 different types of advertisements. The first one contains as you can see, different advertisements of we can do this, that, whatnot. The price tags aren't too horrible. $250, and when I say not too horrible, I'm also considering the fact that these prices are going to be discounted with dealers. If you ever go through a dealer, you are great. My suggestion would be going through Nassau, Train World, or Charles Rowe. Those 3 typically have the lowest prices on early buy, dealer buy prices when they come to pre-orders, especially Nassau on locomotives. They typically have a 10% down and at least $500. Like I pre-ordered my 753,000. That was a $2,500 item. I got it for $2,000. So $500 off a $2,500 product. Great people. But back onto the advertisements. Again, you can see each one has something different. Personally, I am liking all of them, but if I was going to choose one, it would probably be the last 3-pack number 3, because it has looks like 2 big boys or a pair of Challengers on 2 of them. Just stunning. Stunning, stunning, stunning. And then we also get some 2-bay hoppers. It looks like we have the World War II era emergency styled wood-sided 2-bay hoppers, coal hoppers, to pull behind your M1As and Bs, or even your L1s and I1s that should be coming out sometime soon. In this case, price tag for a 3-pack is right at $240, $80 individually. Still up there. But hopefully you'll be able to find a better deal. PS2 CD covered hoppers, price $85. Yeah, different road names, different packs. $85 individually, $250 for the 3-pack, which in this case the 3-packs do come in different colors. That's quite nice. Single sheathed box cars, I do like these, as I said earlier, $80 a piece. We have some Wellsville, Addison, and Gailton, Northern Pacific, Delaware and Hudson, and Boston and Maine. Those are going to be popular. Standard O box cars, similar stuff, 50-foot, 2-door box cars for $70 if you have a smaller layout, but want something a little bit more scale size, that's perfect for you. And then John Deere. There isn't really a lot of new stuff in this catalog, and Lionel only put new stuff in this catalog. And in this case, some new stuff for John Deere. I'm actually quite liking the double-sheathed box car, and also the flatbeds. Lately, I've been trying to put interesting loads on my United States military flat car, and I've kind of ran out of ideas. I've been putting a Mustang, a bunch of different things onto it, and it's just kind of getting a little boring. I don't really have anything else that is scale size, so these flat cars with the John Deere tractors on them for, ouch, $170 a piece. I may reconsider my wanting of it, but after seeing the price tag. But it's actually quite an interesting load. You don't see a lot of tractor loads these days, so that might be quite nice. And then $120 for a box car, ouch. It's the licensing, I can guarantee you. Anything that has a name brand product that's still around, Lionel's gonna have to pay licensing to be able to put that name and product out there, so it's gonna increase the price. I mean, they can't do it, they're not gonna make a profit. And then going out of the scale world and into the traditional O scale world, not a lot of new stuff from when I did a quick look through. Lionel is producing yet even more Line Chief Plus 2.0 locomotives. In this case, typical stuff of 1 steam and 1 diesel. In this case, Lionel's bringing back the 726 style Berkshire. Beautiful style. I'm glad Lionel kept that tooling, continued it. I have the original 1946 style with a modified smoke unit. In this case, it's not the light bulb smoke unit, but instead is the standard post-war refined smoke unit. But they're reproducing the 726 as they should. So it'll be TMCC with a can motor, not a Pullmore motor like the Century Club 726. Will have a little bit more control and features than the Line Chief Plus 726 that they produced a few years ago, so that'll be nice. American Railroad's number 759, a popular road name and paint scheme for both MTH and Lionel enthusiasts. It's been a while since we've seen the 759 and a scale version. Hopefully soon, come next year, we'll get some scale Berkshires again, especially a scale Polar Express, since next year will be the 20th anniversary of the Polar Express, as I should know because I'll be 20 come next year. I was born when that movie came out. Anyway, we have a Detroit, Toledo, and Ironton, number 704. Interesting tender, I like it. And a Santa Fe, number 4106. So similar road names from the last time they produced the 726 style Berkshire for $700. A little pricey for a die-cast model, but it does technically have TMCC inside of it with a fan-driven smoke. A little bit higher up there than a standard TMCC model, especially a lot better than the Century Club TMCC model with only rail sound. So if you want to pay it, by all means. For the other Line Chief Plus 2.0 model of the end of this year is GP7s. GP7s and various road names, similar stuff. $400, quite a good deal for that model. Even though they have metal frames and plastic bodies, still a good model. You can lash multiple of them up, have a typical 3-4 unit GP7 train that you'd see through the Southern or any other road, such as Rio Grande, Aberdeen and Rockfish, C&J, that's popular, and also the Rock Island. Good stuff, good stuff. For the new product set of the year, Line Chief, Lionel's continuing with the repurposed MTH 280 H10-esque model. In this case, they are coming out with a Great Northern 280 Line Chief set for a whopping $470. Yeah, these starter sets are not getting any cheaper. However, the locomotive does have if Lionel kept the die-cast boiler frame and also tender, it should be worthwhile in quality, as typically Lionel cuts corners with a die-cast locomotive and then a plastic body tender. So if they keep it, that might just help a little bit. To go with it, you also have a separately sold Great Northern flat car with bulkheads, and it looks like a set of pipes inside. That'll be a nice little set for your youngin'. Continuing with the set and still new stuff, we have yet more Looney Tunes stuff, such as an Acme Factory, taking reminiscent to the recent fireworks, Red, White, and Boom, Sergeant Stumpy, I think that was the name of it, fireworks building. In this case, we have a exploding firework dynamite factory that quite hilarious for $400. That's going to be fun for a few people, especially with the smoke and light features. An FT Looney Tunes Line Chief set for $530, and also a Tasmanian Devil boxcar. If you like Looney Tunes, here you go. Lionel's got you covered. Some more Looney Tunes boxcars from different themes, and also some more anniversary boxcars. In this case, it's a mixture of historical. All of them should be historical, such as the Boston Tea Party 250th anniversary, the Battle of... I'm not going to try to pronounce that. That is another one I'm not going to try to pronounce and get backhanded on YouTube. 120 years of the Kitty Hawk Flight. Great boxcar for $90. And then also the Gettysburg Address. 160 years since the fabled Gettysburg Address came about. I had to memorize that for my, fifth grade project. And then really we're getting back down into the end of everything. Still usual stuff. Lionel's producing a weather balloon defense system. They're actually going to produce that instead of it being just a typical April Fool's joke. Lionel's actually going to produce that. We've also got a Bethlehem steel flat car with bulkheads in the pipes. Typical smoke fluid. And they're actually producing the smoke fluid dropper bottle 2-pack with a needle nose. So it's just the oil bottle you can get and put your smoke fluid in, which is quite nice. More Christmas stuff coming to be soon, hopefully in the future. Lionel's still advertising for the Mickey and Minnie Mouse hand car, which honestly I have found out is becoming a bit of a ripoff, and I'll explain why. And specifically, the chrome Mickey Mouse hand car. Lionel did change the art rendition from the Volume 1 catalog slightly. Instead of Minnie and Mickey just all being black and white, they did add a little color to the dress skirt and pants and gloves, or not the gloves, they left the gloves chrome, as well as their shoes and their faces. But I have learned, Lionel has announced, I think a month and a half ago, that the reason why they didn't release it with it is because in order to order, or pre-order I should say, the chrome version, you have to be a member of the Disney Club. And that is $100. So after you spend $100 to get into the Disney Club, you then have to pay another $200, not a single bit of a discount, in order to get the hand car. So what originally was being advertised as a coming soon from Lionel, making everybody think that they were going to come out with it soon, along with the other variations, is now turning into a exclusive item that's probably not going to get made because not a lot of people are going to want to pay the extra $100 to be a club member just for this one item. And then on top of that, those club members that are already in it and see it, they're probably not going to want it because it's an unusual item. I mean, this item was produced in the 1930s, supposedly sold for $1, and was supposedly the product that saved Lionel from bankruptcy and helped Walt Disney at the same time. That story's been rumored around and has been retold so many times. It's more legend than fact these days. But anyway, there's not a lot of people that know about that, and it would genuinely take a unique buyer, and to have that extra $100 plastered onto it and not really getting anything extra for it, like unique photos, which all of these are meant to be getting unique, never before seen archive photos from Lionel and Disney themselves. So yeah, I can see the chrome version being ousted and not making the production line because Lionel's not going to get enough pre-orders, unfortunately, which is a shame, but that's how the dollar vote works. If you don't get not enough dollar votes for it, they're not going to make it. Still a stunning model, still hoping I can get one in the future because of its significance, but we'll see. And that's pretty much it. Nothing new for the LCCA Collectors Club of America. Nothing new. This year's boxcar, National Lionel Train Day boxcar, still the same. Still stunning with the one side of the post-war and then the other side of the modern era with the big boy and the FT. It's just stunning boxcar. Might just have to get that one. I did get last year's and it was great, but Lionel just keeps hitting it out of the ballpark with all the vintage calendars and the modern era stuff, the flow through everything. So, but yeah. So that's this year's catalog. I hope you all enjoyed it. I know some people are going to be upset about it, either it being the prices being too high, either there was nothing in there that they wanted, but it's always a hit and miss, and Lionel cannot make everything that you all want specifically. It's just a hit and miss every year, in the sense that you either get it or either you don't. But I think it was quite a great catalog, considering that Lionel's bringing back a number of models that we haven't seen either ever in the legacy field or just in a very long time, such as the M1As and Bs. The M1B hasn't been seen since the early 2000s, since it was produced first in Legacy. The F19s have never been seen in Legacy, so to see them with updated electronics and in Legacy for the first time, like the Dreyfuss Hudsons from last catalog, is just amazing. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching this video, joining me on the live chat right next to me. Hopefully the future self did a good job, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.